put together this week. We have been talking all week on our page about the beginning steps of delegation, and I wanted to dive into this. So I actually give talks to different groups. I do public speaking specifically about delegation. So we're going to break this down into bite-sized chunks. And this week, I was very inspired by an article on ChristopherRJones.com. This is an older article. It was in 2016, but it talked about why delegation can actually be amazing. And I think that we know that, but we have these objections that come up and we tell ourselves all the ways that it isn't possible for us. And so I wanted to stop and, just acknowledge why it can be amazing and then address a couple of the obstacles. So the first thing I wanted to say is welcome. If you haven't met me before, my name is Riah Gonzalez. I am the founder and CEO of Linq Consulting Solutions. I am also the podcasting goddess of the Client Experience Revolution podcast, where I would love to have you join our community. You can find that podcast on every podcasting platform. We do have a group here on Facebook. If you are not seeing this in the group, it's called the Client Experience Revolution. Please find us and join that group as well. So welcome to this little chat, and this is Real Talk with Riah. So I want you to imagine that you are not superhuman. So I know that's a stretch of the imagination. So hit the heart if you're not superhuman. But if you're not superhuman, then delegation can be really amazing for you because it can free up your time to take on higher priorities that have a greater impact, like volunteering, involvement in organizations. Some of the organizations that I'm involved in, there's a group on Facebook called the F-Bomb Breakfast Club, where I'm very, very involved, as well as a group called the Polka Dot Powerhouse, which is a group for female entrepreneurs, which is amazing and nationwide. So this is an area where you can make room to take on higher priority tasks that have a greater impact on the world around you. It also allows you to work in your genius zone. So, I also want you to think about the fact that there is a better way than the way you're doing it right now. So working on tasks and projects with someone else lets other people in with their points of view. And this can foster creative and different solutions that you wouldn't have seen if you had done it on your own. And I've seen this in my own business, for sure. I've seen people come up with ideas that I wouldn't have thought of. And we do this for other people as well with our Clear Path Consulting and our Client Re-Engagement Consulting, where we look at the business and we're not inside of it. So when you delegate to somebody else, they're not inside of your head. They're looking at it from a different perspective. And two heads can often be greater than one. So there's also the possibility, and I know this is the tough pill to swallow, but that someone else can do it better than you can do it. So even if it wasn't true, we aren't 100% special in everything that, that is. We wish it wasn't true, but it is true that we are not 100% special, even though our mommies tell us that. We can't possibly have strength in all areas. We need to leverage the strength of others in areas that we are not as strong or that drain our energy. So we could potentially do that task, but we are drained. So if you're curious as to what your strengths are or what types of tasks drain your energy, I would love for you to reach out to me to learn more about the work we do with the Clear Path Assessment, which is based on the extended DISC assessment. And I like to think it's like the professional version of love languages or like professional tarot cards. It really does isolate which areas of your business you are in your genius zone and which areas are very draining for you. And what you can do with that information, even if you don't do the assessment, is when you identify that information, you can hire or outsource or ask for help in the areas that are not your zone of genius. And so you are looking for complementary people. And I do this when I'm looking for my people on my team, looking for people who are different than me. Maybe not so different that there would be friction. There's enough of an overlap that we have something in common, but they have strengths that are in areas that I do not. So another benefit to delegation is increasing or cultivating trust with someone else. So for those of you who are working with a team already, I want you to know that your team wants to feel useful. No one likes to be overloaded. No one likes to be bored either. And no one likes to be underutilized either. So it feels like you don't trust them when you do one of those things. So allowing your assistant or your team to into your realm with delegation, you're really showing them that you trust them. And sometimes you have to take a leap of faith to do that, which leads us into the obstacles. So obstacles to delegation could be the biggest roadblock to moving up and down, moving up. What I'm trying to say is the biggest roadblock to moving up and moving on can really be fearing the loss of control when you delegate. So as business owners, we can't scale our businesses if we're lost in the weeds. We really can't do it without getting help and delegating. So what I recommend is doing a brain dump of the tasks that you have, the tasks, everything that you do in your business. And I want you to continue to do that brain dump until you've broken everything down into micro tasks, because there are parts of your business where overall the task would feel like something that you have to do yourself. But if you were to be honest, there are steps in there that could be done by somebody else. So it works best. You could do this on a piece of paper, but it works best if you do it in like a Kanban project management system like Trello or the board version of Asana. That being said, you could do it with a simple spreadsheet like Excel or Google Sheets or a pen and paper. The point is to get it out of your head and into writing of some sort. It does not have to be in any sort of order right away. What I recommend is once you've done this whole brain dump, and I mean like exhaust yourself of all the things that you do in your business, you're going to highlight those micro tasks by the order that you would feel comfortable delegating, like take it away, I'm ready, or I need a little bit more time to build trust, or this is an only me task. And I like to call those trust zones. You could also do the same technique separating the micro task into departments or sections of your organization, or whatever makes the most sense for you and helps you feel comfortable passing the goodness along. So let me see here. I want to check and see if we have any questions really quick. Probably not, but that's totally fine. So far, so good. Okay, so another obstacle I hear to delegating is that it's more time consuming than just doing it myself. And I would love to challenge that. So comment below about an experience that you had that was more time consuming than when you delegated it. Because this does happen. I'm challenging it, but it does happen. What I want to say is if you delegate correctly, like by doing this, by really truly doing the brain dump of tasks until they're micro tasks, that it can be easy to delegate. But if you're trying to do it on the fly, then it is overwhelming and it becomes more time consuming and it becomes more overwhelming. So carve out time to coordinate and delegate. This should be a non-negotiable in your business. Elise Tager, who is a phenomenal business coach, talks about CEO time, where you carve out time to look at your numbers and to do projections and to look at growth and all of those things. This is also part of that CEO time. Carving out time to coordinate and delegate is non-negotiable in your business. And that is even if you don't have a team. You need to be looking at where is the next place that I'm going to incorporate help in my business. That could be a contractor, that could be a bookkeeper, that could be someone to help you with your social media, or an intern, or whatever that might be. But even if you're not there right now, you need to know where that person is going to come in first so that you are prepared. And the same way that you can't make sales if you don't prospect. So if you're not out there and you're not putting yourself out there and you're not saying, hey, I'm Riah Gonzalez and I'm here with Linq Consulting Solution and I offer VA matchmaking and clear path consulting and client re-engagement consulting. If you didn't know that I do those things, how am I ever going to engage with you in a professional level? So if you don't delegate, you can't grow. So these are interlinked tasks. So aside from the fact that doing it alone it's just exhausting, it's ineffective, and it's freaking expensive. And so I want you to go with me on this one. I'd like you to think about your week, about how many hours per day you're spending on tasks that someone else could do. So anything that's non-revenue generating, anything that someone else could likely do. And, to be honest, you probably don't even want to do these things that you're doing. Some of these might be things you don't like. So some of these things need to be done and you hate them so much that you procrastinate and it takes you twice as long as it should to complete. Now, I want you to think about what's your billable hour. So if you don't know what your billable hour is, a simplistic version, this is just a simple version, could be to take your gross revenue per month and divide it by the number of hours that you work. And how much do you make per hour? And now I want you to go back to the number of hours you're spending daily, weekly, and monthly on non-revenue generating tasks that you hate. And ask yourself if you can afford help or not. And also ask yourself if it's too expensive to ask for help or to engage with a contractor. It is absolutely ridiculous. Consider the fact that in this costly time, this is like the second thing that you really need to drive home. So you've spent all this money and doing these tasks, but I want you to now consider that in this costly time you're working on those tasks, you, the genius of your business, could have been in front of potential clients and leads. Pitching. Like literally, you could have not only not spent that money, you could have made more money. So do you see why I say this is non-negotiable? Let me see here. I've got a comment. Oops, hold on just a second. This is like a non-negotiable task for you guys. This is something that you absolutely have to do because you are wasting money by doing it yourself and you are costing yourself the time to work on those tasks. Joe Cook. Yes, I do have a VA. I actually have 4 virtual assistants that work for me. And Carol, welcome. I love seeing Carol here. Carol is an amazing, amazing coach and consultant to neurodivergent geniuses. So if you are neurodivergent and consider yourself to be a genius or genius-like, you should touch base with her. So yeah, non-negotiable. You have to delegate. So another situation I see a lot of, unfortunately, is underutilized virtual assistants due to lack of delegation. So you know that I do virtual assistant matchmaking and I help people get their virtual assistant and I give them all this advice on how to get set up. And then later on down the line, I may hear back that the VA feels underutilized. And that seems weird. That seems like who would complain about not working a lot, but you have to think about the boredom factor and people want to be engaged. So think about the fact that you knew you needed help, so you did the thing. You did the thing. That was so good. And now in order to kick it into high gear, you cannot check out. You have to be present. An underutilized virtual assistant can feel bored, unfulfilled, and missing out on creativity. They can feel neglected or in the way, and especially if they have been proactive in suggesting ways that they can help, but they haven't really received any clear direction from you on how to proceed. So they don't want to step on your toes. So it's essential to set aside time every week to outline what your team needs to accomplish in the upcoming week and then break it down. This is that CEO time. So if you need ideas, like let's say you're just like creatively dry, ask your VA. Because they come from a different perspective, they're likely to think of things that you wouldn't have thought of on your own. So I want to tell you about a time that I had to delegate delegating, because it wasn't always that I was a public speaker talking about delegation. There was a time in not so long ago that I had just one VA, and I was learning how to be a business owner. I was learning how to be a good leader in this arena, whereas before I had led teams in like someone else's business. So I would not delegate anything, and it would get so bad because I just felt like anything I gave her, I felt like I was going to inconvenience her, or it would be too much. And so what we ended up doing was what I called delegating. And I sat down with her at the beginning of the week on her first day of the week, and we would look at my schedule for the whole week and go through every single day and what I was going to have to do for that day. And she would say, Riah, why are you doing that? No, I'm taking that. You know what I mean? Like, this is not something that you need to do. And so, like, I mean, I'm just saying, there's many ways, or my mom used to say, there's many ways to skin a rabbit here. Like, you can accomplish this however you need to. If you're in the beginning stages of feeling comfortable delegating to someone, ask your VA. Let's look at this worksheet. Let's look at all these things. What are things that you think that you are interested in, or you have knowledge that I don't have knowledge in? Like, have an open dialogue with your virtual assistant. And don't be afraid to ask for help, especially when there are things that you don't know, or things that you don't want to do, or things that you literally don't have time for. And if you need help with getting a person, like this person, I really want you to reach out by just sending me a DM. Send me a message and let me know what you're looking for, or what your questions are. So just to wrap things up, I want you to think about the fact that if you want to be the best, and very few of us went into business to be mediocre. I mean, I guess there could be some of you out there, and good on you. But if you want to be the best, you must conquer the obstacles that you yourself are putting in your own way. And delegation only feels hard if you continually reinforce that limiting belief for yourself. I'd love to leave you with a few thoughts that inspired me, a couple quotes and different things. But first, my very favorite author, John C. Maxwell, said that if you want to do a few things right, do them yourself. And if you want to do great things and make a big impact, learn to delegate. And David, I'm going to say his name wrong, Ogilvy, sorry. He was widely hailed as the father of advertising, but in 1962, Time magazine called him the most sought-after wizard in today's advertising industry. So his success was tied directly back to hiring smart people, delegating, and then letting them do their jobs. And he said, hire people who are better than you are, then leave them to get on with it. Look for people who will aim for the remarkable and who will not settle for routine. So that's it, right? Like, do you want to be remarkable, or do you want the routine? The choice is really yours. And if you're ready to delegate, but you don't have your perfect sidekick yet, I want you to reach out to me, and let's talk about whether or not our virtual assistant matchmaking service is right for you. And if you have a VA, but you find yourself bogged down and stuck in your head about what the next steps towards an actionable goal would be, let's chat about our Clear Path Consulting. If either of these is you, shoot me a message and we will schedule some time to chat. And if you aren't already listening to my very wonderful podcast, The Client Experience Revolution, yet, what are you waiting for? Literally, check it out wherever you listen to podcasts, or join us on the YouTube channel for the video version. And it is full of amazing conversations with experts in all topics relevant to your entrepreneurial journey as a human with a heart. So that's it for today on why delegation can be amazing. I thank you so much for joining me. I'm going to look really quick to see if there's any other comments. I don't think so. Thank you guys again for everything. And as always, it is an absolute pleasure to be with you. And I thank you. We'll talk soon.